that sound is, it's time for another episode of Wrestling with Power. I am your most dubious host, Slick Vic, and with me as always is...
Mr. Mosley.
Mr. Mosley, how are you?
Feeling very dubious this week.
Yeah. Did you have any doobies today before we started?
No, I didn't. I've not had any of those in quite a long time, actually.
Me neither. But anyways, it's a very dubious evening to talk some wrestling. Some wrestling shows we're going to talk about, including SmackDown, Raw, and our first retro review for WCW's Halloween Havoc from 1996. We'll get to that one, man. It's a spooky episode. Spooky episode as always, but hey. Anyways, before we get into...
WCW.
Before we get into SmackDown, is there anything you want to talk about, Mr. Mosley?
Man, not right off the top. I can't say that I spent most of this week, catching up because I didn't watch SmackDown live. I didn't watch Raw live. And I watched Halloween Havoc like a day or two ago, and I watched it once all the way through, and then I watched it halfway through, and somehow I still managed to miss some of it. But I pretty much got the gist, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about doing our first retro review, and I'm happy that it was this one because I think, honestly, this is the first time that I've ever watched a WCW pay-per-view in its entirety.
This will be great because for me, I did see this when I was younger, and I have a lot of nostalgia for this show and for that era. So you're coming in fresh. You got a completely different perspective. I still have nostalgia goggles for some of it.
Yeah.
So it should definitely, hopefully, create a good little comparison here. Because
I was thinking that too when I was watching it. I was like, and when we talk about it, we'll get to actually the stuff that happened. But there are times where I would be like, if I was a fan of wrestling in 1996, like I am now, and I was watching, and I knew what was going on, and knew what was going on the other side of things, and like I would have popped for this, or this would have been big news. But it's kind of cool that I wasn't, because I can look at it from, I think, a different perspective, without the nostalgia glasses, without being in it and being like, why would I be excited about this? So there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah. So for all you listeners who enjoy this retro review, if you want to hear us talk about more old school wrestling, for whether it's WWE, WCW, or even maybe ECW, definitely drop us a line. Mosley, tell them where they can follow us.
Well, you can follow us. We're live right now, pal, on Twitch. So if you may see this later, though. We post it on YouTube. But this is our first time going live on Twitch. We've been going live on our YouTube channel, and I thought I would switch it up and go live over here on Twitch. And it's as simple as twitch.com/wrestlingwithpower. Every Thursday night, unless otherwise noted, here we are. And we do the show live, and then it's edited. And I put the show up on Spotify. I'm still not sure what the Spotify address is, but I know if you go to Spotify and search Wrestling with Power, you'll find us. And of course, like I said, youtube.com. That one's a little bit different because of some jabron that took our name sometime in the past and doesn't use it effectively like we do. But on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@ Wrestling with Power podcast. And then, of course, facebook.com/Wrestling with Power, which is where we always make our post updates. If there's any kind of news throughout the week, anything that we think that people should know or get caught up on before we go live, or, even when we go live, you can follow us on there. And that's the best place to do it as far as getting in contact with us as well. Commenting on the posts that we make. What did you think about the show? What did you think about this or that? We're probably going to be more likely to, which we'll answer comments on like YouTube and stuff as well, But obviously Facebook is more of I think a comment post driven like social media platform. It's just more expected. So that's it. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Spotify.
All right. With that said, shall we jump right into the SmackDown review?
Sure.
All right.
We'll jump head first into this one. As in recent weeks, you may be used to Slick Vic bringing our SmackDown Live reviews to you guys. I'm going to be doing it. Did I call it SmackDown Live? See, I'm still living in like 10 years ago.
Oof. What is this, Tuesday night?
Yeah.
It was Tuesday.
SmackDown Live. No, SmackDown, WWE SmackDown. Vic's, for the better part of the last couple of months has been doing SmackDown. I'm going to be doing SmackDown this week just because we thought we would switch it up for no other reason. And he'll be bringing Raw to us. So I'll fire off on SmackDown, but Vic, the first thing I want to do before we get too far ahead of ourselves is take a look at Slick Vic's gimmick this week. Let's see what you got on the table over there, pal.
You know, this came about really abruptly because the wife is decorating the house for Halloween, and she pulled out a whole bunch of boxes full of stuff. There's still stuff outside you can't see within the frame here, but I'm looking at them right now. And one of the things she brought out was this giant spider, which is actually a candle holder. If you see right here, it can hold a candle. Nice. Yeah. So we got a giant
I like that.
daddy long legs guarding, the crystal ball.
The sacred crystal ball, yeah.
If you come near, you risk getting stomped on by one of those tiny little tentacles or spider legs.
It's going to be very dangerous. But yeah, you got to keep that crystal ball under lock and key because it has served you well in the recent times.
It's got to have its rest.
Yeah, it's got to charge up. Up. So, SmackDown. Also, another thing that I'd like to go over a little bit before we jump right into it is I've been working on a different way to review these matches and shows to where it's more condensed. I still do a little bit of play-by-play during the matches and stuff, but I wanted to cut down on that because, I guess mainly because that's sort of like expecting that you guys didn't watch the match. And I would assume that if you're here listening to us talk about it, you've probably watched it. You know what I mean? Like you just want to hear what we thought about it. So I've been trying to cut down a little bit on that, and one of the things that I did was make a rating system for the matches. And it's 5 things that I think make a great WWE match. This doesn't have to be across the board. It doesn't have to be based on anyone else's opinion or anyone else's star ratings or anything like that. Whereas I think a lot of people, they base it mostly on the technical in-ring work of a match. That's not how I'm doing mine. I do want to go over that before I get into this because I'm actually going to be starting that tonight on tonight's episode. So I think I got it over here on my Raw notes actually. The 5 things, the 5 characteristics or factors or whatever you want to call it, that I have been rating these matches. Number 1 is build. And so basically if a match has had greater than 2 to 3 weeks build, that gets a point. Or actually we're calling it gigawatts. We just discussed this before we went live. 1 gigawatt for build. Actually all of these you can get 1 or you can get a half or you can get 0. But build, like I said, it's got to be like 2 to 3 weeks. It's got to be something that's been building, not just something that was thrown out there. That would be obviously 0. Quality, that's the in-ring work of the match, and pretty much everything that takes place during the match. Memorable moments, that's also stuff that takes place during the match, but were there any moments that stood out that we're going to remember days and weeks and months and years down the road? I think if there's 2 to 3 or more really memorable moments, that gets a point too. Emotion, because, we're telling stories here. We watch wrestling largely for the emotion, whether it makes you sad, mad, pissed off, happy, whatever.
You make motion pictures here, pal.
Yeah, making movies, and then proceeds to eat water. But no, emotion is number 4, and then number 5 is result. Now, result isn't necessarily how the match ended. It's because that plays into quality, memorable moments, and emotion. It could be one of those things. Result is who won, and basically did the right person win according to whatever I think. Do I think the right person won? And that could obviously get a 1 or a 0, or it could get a 0.5 under certain circumstances. We'll probably see that in the next couple of shows that we review. But that's it. Build, quality, memorable moments, emotion, and result. Each one you can get 1 gigawatt for a total of 5 gigawatts if it is a 5 gigawatt match here on Wrestling with Power.
That deserves like a great Scott if it happens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, now that all that's out of the way, Slick Vic, let's talk about SmackDown. SmackDown was on October if I'm not mistaken here, 17th. And I don't remember where it was, San Diego, California. All right. We start the show with Nick Aldis. He's in the ring. He announces that the match later tonight between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu will be a number 1 contenders match for the WWE Championship. He then introduces Cody Rhodes down to the ring, who comes down with all his pyro and entrance taunts, and he's kissing babies and shaking hands and signing autographs and all that good stuff. And then he basically gives us a promo of his own to hype the match. Didn't really think much of this entire opening segment, Vic. It was just like, okay, fine. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. It's the same thing. All I have is, he's here to, he says like, him and Seth are bound to have another match again someday. Seth is going to handle Raw business. Cody's going to handle SmackDown business. Ric Flair is going to handle Horseman business. And then he hypes up the main event.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all this was doing. Was, hyping the main event. There wasn't any big fiascos going on or anything crazy. So, whatever. It was an okay way to start the show, I guess. Then we have a match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Charlotte Flair and whose first name I cannot say because my little robot person over there will go off. Bliss.
Miss
champions, Miss Bliss versus Sol Ruca and Zarya. Say that right, Zarya?
I've heard Zarya and I've heard Zaria, but I'm going to go with Zarya because
I think it's Zarya,
I say Mario, I don't say Mario.
Yes, good point. Good point.
I think in the past I've said Zaria, but no, going forward it's Zarya.
I was going to say Zarya. So there's another one for you.
Maybe if there was an H at the end of it, like Mariah.
Well, it's like Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. The girl in the forest at the beginning of the game. How do you say her name?
Zarya. Or God.
Saria is how you spell it.
Zarya. Zarya.
That's how you always.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, Zarya.
Okay.
But yeah. I think it could be Saraya.
That makes me think of Paige.
Yeah. Sorry, but I always said sorry. Anyway, WWE Women's Tag Team Championships are on the line, and most of this match was Charlotte beating up Sol Ruca and Zarya. And then Bliss would come in, and she'd take most of the punishment from the opposition. I think the point here was just to show off the chops of Sol Ruca and Zarya, but this match just wasn't it for me, man. Instead, we get a fairly dominant performance by the champions, particularly Charlotte, in what I would consider an unmemorable match that was maybe less than decent. Wasn't very impressed by it. So on my scale, build 0, quality gets a 0.5, emotion 0, memorable moments 0, and result 1. I thought the right team won, obviously. But yeah, a big 1.5 gigawatts for this one. What did you think of the match, Vic?
Well, I thought Soul and Charlotte both got to display their athleticism. And I think I've talked about Soul before. I think she's got a lot of potential. And Zaria's got a great look. Her slipping off the second rope during that sleeper was a little sad, but whatever. I also could have done without the suck it taunt from Charlotte. And not just from her, but from several other people. I mean, Rhea Ripley does that too. Let's just leave that to DX. Come on.
I think it's hilarious when Charlotte does it, because remember that thing I sent you in WCW of Flair and like his whole family up there doing the suck it thing? That makes every time that happens, I see her do that. Like, that's what I think of. So
it's a callback to like 10-year-old Charlotte telling you to suck it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so regardless, Charlotte and Soul looked great here. Charlotte obviously already well established, but I thought Soul stood her own, and that Soul Snatcher finisher is great. I think you put a 0 for memorable moments. That finisher is fantastic, and Charlotte took it. That's a good one. Yeah. But unfortunately, apparently she got hurt. Soul got injured somewhere during this match, because I saw some of NXT this week, and she was supposed to have a match, but had to pull out. So, an okay match. Like I said, it was meant to display Soul and Charlotte, and it did its job.
Yeah. So I do like that you pointed out my lack of pointage on the memorable moments thing, because while the Soul Snatcher is one of the most impressive finishers, no doubt, to me, doesn't constitute a memorable moment, because that's something that she's going to be doing every match.
Yes.
It's not something that was just like out of the blue, like, oh my God, can you imagine? Like, memorable moment, for example, I guess would be The Undertaker showing up at WrestleMania 40 and Cody Rhodes, that type of thing, or just somebody coming out or something crazy happening that's unexpected. So yeah, big props to the Soul Snatcher. It's one of my favorite things, but doesn't really count as a memorable moment on the old Mosley gigawatt scale over here.
Fair enough.
You can make your own scale, brother.
I just might. Just you wait.
We go to a backstage segment. Jacob Fatu runs into Cody Rhodes backstage. He says when he's finished with Drew McIntyre, Cody will know that Jacob Fatu is no gas and all brakes with it. And that little noise that he makes. Yeah. But he does some kind of weird... I can't do it. Then we get a pre-recorded segment. Aleister Black says he's never felt this accomplished as he is now, aligning with his wife, Zelina Vega. He says they are a necessary evil. And I did like this. I like that these two are together on screen now. I think it's always better for the show whenever some element of the real world is brought in. And obviously with the recent success of, pairing up other real-life couples together, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, CM Punk, well, I guess that was... I don't know if that was a one-off or not, because I haven't seen Mrs. Punk in a long time now. She's been missing for several weeks. I don't know what she's doing, but anyway, you get the point. I think they're kind of playing into that, and I'm here for it. It's cool, and it's an easy choice for creative too, I feel like. Vic, let me get your thoughts on this.
First of all, did Jacob say all gas and no brakes, or did he say all brakes and no gas? Because I think you might have reversed the...
Did he mess it up?
I don't know if he messed it up or you messed it up. That's what I'm trying to clear up.
Oh, did I mess it up? I don't know if I messed it up. I've got in my notes... Yeah, I read it from my notes. No gas, all brakes.
But yeah, okay, cool. I guess maybe one day we'll get a Cody and Jacob match. But I really like the video package with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. Have you ever seen the movie From Dusk Till Dawn?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, well, there's a scene in that movie where Salma Hayek dances around with a snake around her neck. It's a very memorable scene. And I swear to God, like, Zelina had a snake in this video, and it was giving me From Dusk Till Dawn vibes. I'll leave it at that. So we can moving on.
All right, cool. Oh, when did that movie come out?
In the mid 90s. I think it was 95, 96. It's worth checking out.
What was it about?
It starts off with it's got George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. They're brothers. They're like starts off as like a heist movie where they're trying to escape from the law. I can't remember what they did or what if they had money or something, but they end up kidnapping a family. Harvey Keitel's the father, and he's got 2 kids, and they end up kidnapping them and trying to make their way to Mexico to escape the law. And when they get to Mexico, they go to a bar, and the bar ends up being filled with vampires.
Okay.
So they have to work there. This movie starts off as a heist movie and turns into this action horror film. The second half of the movie.
The title made me think of vampires, so I'm glad you got around to that.
Yeah.
Sort of validates me a little bit.
Yeah. It's definitely worth checking out. I highly recommend it. It's a good one. It's Robert Rodriguez, who did Sin City and Desperado and many, many good movies. So,
cool. Yeah.
Check it out.
All right. And then we got another backstage segment. Sami Zayn is pissed that he isn't on the card tonight, and he's complaining to Nick Aldis. Sami says he's going to defend his title anyway, and we have another U.S. title open challenge. So, thus we have the match. Sami Zayn and The Miz starts to come out, and you think maybe it's going to be versus The Miz, but then he gets jumped by Carmelo Hayes almost instantly, and the two fight away. And then all of a sudden, you hear the music of Ilya Dragunov. Is it Ilya? Is that how you say his name?
That's how I said, yep. Ilya.
Yeah. Ilya. I want to call him Elijah Dragunov. But we haven't seen this guy in a while. I'm not familiar with him hardly at all. Barely a little bit. Apparently, he's been gone for a year due to a right knee injury, the announcers say. So he's back. And then we get the match, and it, obviously, for those of you out there that know how this match ended, it really kind of seemed like this was just going to be another one of those U.S. title open challenge matches where the person who is challenging for the title gets a lot of shit in, and Sami Zayn gets beat up for most of it, but Sami Zayn ends up winning. Not necessarily how it went. There was lots of back and forth in the beginning, lots of striking action. Then we get some grappling, some high spots from both guys, more striking. Sami ended up hitting a sick DDT-like maneuver on the apron, and it hung Dragunov up on the ropes on impact. It was like he DDT'd him into the ropes. It was really just odd looking, but yeah.
I have that in my notes as well. That was a good one.
It's a weird spot. I didn't know what to make of it. Then we get a break, and when we come back, they show us what was going on during the break, which is basically more striking. There was a big top rope backsplash onto Sami from Dragunov, and he got a near fall out of it. Solo Sikoa shows up. He walks out on stage and causes a momentary distraction, but apparently it doesn't have any effect because Sami still hits an exploder on Dragunov. Dragunov is then able to avoid the follow-up Helluva Kick. And so I don't know what the point of Solo coming out there was, because it seems like if you're going to cause a distraction, that should be the moment where the other guy gets the upper hand. But if he hit an exploder right after the distraction, then distraction is null and void, right? Am I wrong here?
No, you're right, but I think this is just to plant seeds for an eventual feud.
Yeah, okay. Good point. Anyway, yeah, he goes for a Helluva Kick after the exploder, and Dragunov avoids it. And then he hit his finisher on Sami. And I don't remember what his finisher was called, but he hits his finisher on Sami Zayn, and he pins him for the win. Beats him right in the middle. and new United States champion Ilya Dragunov. Again, I'm not super familiar with this guy, but he was impressive. And I really loved his emotion throughout the match, man. He was pumped. He was like, 1.21 gigawatts of electricity going at 100 miles. He was, and the announcers kept talking about that, how this guy's like full of rage and he somehow channels it into whatever. But like, I thought it was really cool because, again, I'm not super familiar with his work, but I thought it was super solid. And as far as my points go, if I could give any more points for quality, I would. And that's one setback from my little ranking system that I thought up, because some matches are significantly better quality-wise than others. But it gets a 1 point for quality. This actually got a 0 in build, obviously. Quality got a 1, emotion got a 1, memorable moments got a 0.5, and result got a 1. This was a 3.5 gigawatt match for me, Slick Vic. What say you?
All right. Well, I wish I didn't hear about the rumors of Ilya being backstage this night. I was surfing through the internet and I saw some reports that, hey, Ilya Dragunov spotted backstage. So I'm like, oh, okay. All right. But what's it called? Nonetheless, I thought this match was exciting. It was, and the biggest surprise was him winning. I did not. I don't know if you mentioned this in your review. Did you think Ilya was going to win this match?
No. Well, I didn't mention that in my review, but when I mentioned that, I thought it was just going to be one of those, well, maybe I did mention it, that it would be like we would get to see a lot of his shit and it would be cool, but Sami Zayn would end up winning. I thought it would get him, another one of those open challenge matches, and then it would keep going. So,
because similar to last week, we had Shinsuke Nakamura come back after God knows how long, and they had a good match, but in the end, Sami Zayn went over. So I thought it was gonna be the same thing here. Ilya was gonna get all this shit in and come close, but not quite. But when he won, I was like, holy shit, fucking A.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I have in my notes that Sammy's suplex where he dropped Ilya rope first onto his shoulder was nice. And you mentioned this earlier. Ilya's tenacity is just a lot of fun to watch. The man is just like wired, like he's like the man down to pre-workout and he's just ready to go.
Yeah.
It surprised me when Ilya kicked out of the Blue Thunder Bomb. That's when I thought maybe the title may change hands. And I thought the U.S. Open Challenge would go on for a little longer at least. But hey, maybe better end it now before it overstays its welcome. Afterwards, when the MFT came out, and then I was thinking, actually, it wasn't just the MFT; it was the Wyatt Six. I'm sorry if I'm not. I hope I'm not getting ahead of your review here, but
I didn't make it there yet.
I'll stop right there then because
you can go ahead. I don't care.
Okay. All I have to say is this going to lead to a War Games match? Is there enough heat for a Wyatt 6 versus the MFT? MFTs. Is it MFT or MFTs?
I think it's just MFT.
My Family Tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But I'd love to see an old school 5-on-5 Survivor Series match between the Wyatt 6 and the MFTs.
Yeah.
What about so? I went ahead and go ahead, but go ahead. Tell me what you think.
No, it's cool. I mean, you basically just went straight into the post match, which is the MFT members hit the ring, and they took out both Dragunov and Sami Zayn. Rey Fenix shows up and tries to help, but gets chokeslammed by Taller Tonga for his trouble. The MFT stand tall. Solo cuts a short promo. Bo Dallas shows up on the Tron, cutting a little promo of his own, and then the Wyatt Six show up. And then the MFT leave. And that was it. But the people were chanting loudly for this confrontation. And I don't think that the heat is necessarily there, but I think the hype is there. And I think that's what we're going to get. I don't know why they would have Survivor Series War Games and have the cage there and the two rings and just have a traditional Survivor Series match. Like, why not just go ahead and, you know what I'm saying? Do it in the cage. So I think that might be where we're headed with this. But who are the 5 members of the Wyatts again? You got Bo Dallas.
Bo Dallas, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis.
Drawing a blank. Now, Dexter Loomis and Joe Gacy are the champions. And then you have Bo, and you have Nikki Cross, but she doesn't count, right? Because, I mean, she counts as a part of the group, but it's the Wyatt 6.
You're right. Isn't the 6th member supposed to be Bray Wyatt?
Is it really?
Isn't he supposed to be like in the group in spirit?
I don't know. It'd be a shame if we were just leaving somebody out and just couldn't think of them.
All right,
time for Google. While you're doing that, again, I do want to mention though, if there is one drawback from that match is that I love the U.S. Open Challenge, and I've talked about it in the past how I loved it when Cena did it, and I'm glad that Zayn was doing it here, and I would love to see it continue. That's the one drawback, because unless Dragunov continues it, which I don't think would have the same feel. I don't think Dragunov should continue it. I was okay with Zayn doing it, I guess, because he's, been around a long time and he's sort of a main eventer and he's testing these people out. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the Open Challenge, but I think the result, the emotion, the surprise, it gets a 1 for me instead of a half because it was just so good. The result was, and going forward from this, like, he did a little interview after the match, and it was very good. The guy's on point. I want to see more of him. So, yeah, like I said, it got a point for me, 3.5 gigawatts. What'd you figure out over there, Vic, about the Wyatts that we're missing?
We got the 5. Uncle Howdy, Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, Joe Gacy, and Nikki Cross.
So there's not 6.
No. Now, here's another thing. How many War Games matches can we fit into one show? Because I figured there's going to be an all-women's match, and there's going to be an all-men's match. I would imagine the men's match would have several main eventers, maybe the Vision plus a few other heels against a group of baby faces. But then again, I don't know, because Seth Rollins is out.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns Roman Reigns is probably not coming back till Christmas.
Yeah, so I mean, how many more people would join? The Vision is literally just the Bronze now.
Yeah, so it might just be they might just actually do this with the MFT and the Wyatt 6, but I think there's kind of a mismatch here unless they make Nikki Cross the 5th member of the group against the 5 members of the MFT. But there's only 4 members no, there is 5. Tama Tonga's back.
Yeah, they're all there. They just get in there and beat the shit out of Nikki Cross. Toss her out of the cage. Yeah, I mean, you know what? All of a sudden, this is the most interesting thing about this match. Like, who is going to be the 5th person to join the Wyatts if they have the match?
Maybe for one night only Braun Strowman comes back. That would make sense.
I don't think he would come back for one night only. I don't think he would do that. I think he's got too much pride. You know what I mean? Like especially hearing some of his recent interview. I think he did an interview within the last week where he said something he's doing like a new cooking show now where he travels around and like eats stuff. And
yeah, that's
he said
that
that
he produced.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He said that he wishes that he had got to be himself while he was on WWE TV because he thinks that he would have, I think the way he put it, rule the world, but instead he had to play the character and do what they wanted him to do, and it didn't go over so well. So I didn't know it was WWE produced because
I don't know if Braun Strowman, and I'm not condemning him for this. He's a big goofball on social media. and I think he should play the role of a giant ass kicker. And if I see him, doing dancing routines in the ring, that's not going to rule the world.
Right. Yeah. You might have a point, dude. That would get a pop, though. That would be awesome if he did come back. I just don't know if he would want. I think he would want to come back and be full time, not just come back because he's been fired twice in the past 5 years. So I don't know. I think that would hurt his pride a little bit to be like, yeah, we just want you for one match, just So yeah, I don't know. I'm hyped for it for different reasons now. We go from that to a backstage segment where Tiffany Stratton is being interviewed on her loss at Crown Jewel. She says Stephanie Vaquer took her to her limit, but she was undefeated for a year, so one loss doesn't define her. Kiana James shows up, and the two have words, leading to a challenge by Tiffany for a match next week. I completely disagree with Tiffany Stratton here. I think that it does definitely define her when you are considered, when we have we're supposed to sit here and believe that there's two world champions, two top, which is fine. The roster's huge, and maybe there can be two, one on each side of the fence here that are the best. But not when you literally have an entire PLE based around the fact that you're going to face that person and then they beat you clean in the middle of the ring. And not only do they beat you clean, but they show off their quality in such a way that it shows how weak your quality is. In other words, Stephanie Vaquer is light years better than Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany's good for what she does, but there's a reason Vaquer is so over other than her ass. She's great in the ring. She's got that look to her. Tiffany has a look too, but the work has to be there. And I think that it was never more obvious than when they were in the ring together that there's clearly a difference, and it defines Stratton as the second best, which overall I think is not a good thing. So, weird little backstage segment that when I first saw it, I didn't have many notes on, but then I started thinking, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So, that was my opinion on that. Slick Vic, what do you think?
I must have completely glossed over that segment because I don't really remember it. I just remember, I do remember Stephanie saying, yeah, I lost, but whatever, and moving on.
That's pretty much all she said. But she just had that line in there that said, I've been undefeated for a year, one loss isn't going to define me. That's what got me.
Okay.
That's what got me red hot.
I didn't think as deeply as you did, but I see your point.
I went off on a major rant. So, let me pause for just a moment, Slick Vic. First of all, and I know down the road I want to save this for a different topic, maybe when we do another Cook in the Books in the future. How do you feel about there being two top world champions? Women and men, tag team, U.S. and Intercontinental I think is okay, but two top world champions, in each of those categories.
I've gone back and forth about this actually, because sometimes I'm actually most of the time, I'm kind of I think we should have one champion, the traveling world champion. The guy, if you're going to be world champion, whether man or female, you got to be on both shows. Mm-hmm. You got to, like Ric Flair back in the day would go from territory to territory and face the top baby face for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. And I kind of feel like WWE could do that too. I guarantee you Cody would love to do that. Just be on each show, but then again, you're then you have an odd focus of contenders, challengers. Okay, who's the main feud going to be with this week? Is he going to be with, who's he gonna face for the upcoming PLE? Is it going to be the person he had a match with on SmackDown, or the person he had a match with on Raw? There's going to be two separate threads. Like one week he's talking about his feud with Drew McIntyre, and the next week he's talking about his feud with Seth Rollins. There needs to be a singular focus, I feel. So
I feel that. I'll be honest, I've never thought of that.
So now I'm kind of cool with the two champions thing. I've come to peace with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of have no choice but to come with peace with it because they're gonna do it anyway. But I'm in the same boat now. I never thought about the whole feud thing, but I was really in the same boat as far as there should be one world champion and they should be able to be on both shows. My thought was always that they would kind of bounce back and forth as to who they were feuding with over the championship, but maybe they could do some kind of interpromotional thing where they're feuding with somebody on one show and somebody on the other, and then those two have to fight each other to see who becomes the number one contender. I mean, that would be one possible solution. I can see how maybe that would get old after a while, but, you know, they don't always have to do that. Anyway, we're kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I was just curious on your thoughts because I think overall I am not a fan of there being two world champions. I think there should be one top best guy.
Yeah.
And if there's not, you know, you shouldn't be calling your championship undisputed when there's two world titles. And, you know, for two, if you're going to have two world titles, don't have a PLE where you put the two guys in the ring and give the winner a big-ass huge belt and say you're the best ever. You know, like, I don't know. Defeats the purpose a little bit.
One last thing I want to add is I feel like it devalues the lesser title. Like, okay, Cody's got the WWE Undisputed Championship, Seth's got the World Heavyweight Championship, but I feel like it makes Seth's belt the lesser valuable, lesser prestigious belt.
Well, yeah, it is naturally, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted Seth to win at Crown Jewel. I really wanted him to win because I wanted it to bring the world title up a peg. Yeah. But naturally, that is the lesser valued belt because they created it out of thin air. They didn't even link it to the lineage of the old Big Gold Championship, which, why not? Why not say we're bringing back the world title? And then it, you know, the lineage continues on. Instead, we just get a title that's made up because there's no champion on one brand, whereas on the other brand, the champion is the WWE champion, the belt that's been around forever. So naturally, it's got more prestige. It's got more. I mean, Cody made it clear this is the belt I want because this is the one. When he won it, when he was going after it. So I don't know. Maybe that's a topic for another time, Slick Vic. I could talk about that all day. Actually, I do want to talk about that sometime in the future. Maybe when we do like I said, a cooking the books segment on the current championship lineup in WWE. I think that'd be fun. But let's go on to the next segment in SmackDown, which was actually a match. This was a match between the Motor City Machine Guns and Los Garza. I don't know Los Garza's individual names. So, and this match was, I don't know, it was average at best, I think. I mean, I think the one saving grace is the Motor City Machine Guns are a fucking fantastic, legendary tag team that, you know, and I've talked about them before. They were kind of jobbing out people. Not really jobbing out, but they were just taking losses left and right. But this was a decent match. We got a lot of back and forth. Both teams were looking impressive. Both were getting their strikes and grappling in. Tandem offense by Motor City Machine Guns. Heel tactics by Los Garza. Alex Shelley has an impressive sequence where he's taking out both members of Los Garza. Other than that, though, like I said, most memorable thing about this match, Slick Vic, was the fact that the Motor City Machine Guns actually won. I was very happy to see that happen. So, all that said, 2 gigawatts for this. And I give it 2, 1 for quality and 1 for result. What about you?
Well, like you, it was really, really good to see the Motor City Machine Guns again. It felt like the SmackDown tag team division needed some much needed attention. And I thought this match was all right. This match was pretty good. I thought they had, like I said, both teams had great tandem offense. It was on full display, and it was same with Los Garza. They had some really good offense as well. I said both teams anyways, but yeah, Los Garza and Motor City Machine Guns both look good. And the tag team division could revolve around the Motor City Machine Guns. These guys are that good, that exciting. And at the end of this match, I hope I'm not cutting into the post match here again, but they're introducing. I mean, there's a lot of tag teams. There's some good stuff here because we see Fraxium and DIY backstage, and DIY are always entertaining, and Fraxium are new and exciting. So there's some talent to work with here. So let's rebuild if that's the right word. Let's rebuild the SmackDown tag division because there is talent. So I want to see it, and let's build it up.
It absolutely needs it. I've been preaching that for weeks, months even. You know, we've got 2 sets of tag team championships. That's one more than I think that they need in the company, considering the amount of, well, at least previously, tag teams and interesting tag teams. But like you say, it's growing, and there's definitely room to improve on this. But yeah, Motor City Machine Guns are legends, and they should be treated as such. And I think that they should. The tag division could easily revolve around them. I like that line. As you mentioned, we get a backstage segment. Fraxium are back there. They're talking about the tag titles, and DIY shows up and talks some smack about everyone. And then I think not Ciampa, but
Gargano?
Johnny Gargano tries to, I don't know if he tries to take off the guy's mask or he just reaches for it, but it really pisses him off. And then they just leave. I don't know. It was a silly little segment. But we go from that to another backstage segment. God, how many backstage segments have we got in this show? Nick Aldis is seen running in the back to where Jacob Fatu is laying in a pool of his own blood with what looks like several teeth laying there as well. So someone took out Jacob Fatu, and there's no clear idea on who or why, at least until Drew McIntyre comes to the ring looking suspiciously happy. McIntyre tells the ref to raise his hand as the new number 1 contender. Nick Aldis comes out, followed by Cody Rhodes, yelling at Drew. Everybody thinks Drew done it. Drew's denying it. Rhodes says they should have a match right now. And after some brawling on the outside, all of a sudden we have a title match. Cody isn't even in his gear. He's still wearing his street clothes. I think this is a title match. Cody says, you want a shot at the title? We'll have it right now. Then the bell rings. It's at least a match. For some reason, we're having a match here. And in this match, I guess Cody's wrestling in his street clothes to sell the idea that he wasn't supposed to be having a match right now. Surprisingly, he's able to do everything without ripping his pants like Brock Lesnar did. Cody beats on Drew for a while until Drew hits a future shot DDT to turn the tides. Drew opens Cody's shirt and fires off with some chops to his chest. Cody hits a Cody Cutter, and Drew heads outside the ring. Drew throws Cody into the Timekeeper's area, and then Cody grabs the WWE title and smashes Drew over the head with it, causing a DQ. Post-match, Cody attempts to hit a crossroads on Drew through the announce table, but the security breaks it up, and then he does a flying thing off the top turnbuckle, and then the show ends. So kind of lame, really, Slick Vic. This was nothing more than just an elaborate brawl that for some reason turned into a match that ended fairly quickly in a disqualification. I don't know, but why did there have to be a match? Why did they have to ring the bell? Why didn't they just fight the whole time? What was the point of that? I'm not sure. But considering they did ring the bell and this was a match, I got to give it a score, and I give it a big 1.5 gigawatts. Emotion got a 1 because Cody was absolutely fired up here. A lot of emotion. A lot of emotion from Nick Aldis when he came out. Emotion from Drew trying to defend himself. In fact, this was almost a heelish Cody. He was so worked up. And memorable moments got a 0.5 because Cody used the title to smash Drew in the head. And, Cody traditionally is this guy who won't do stuff like that. Won't do heel tactics and heelish shit. But here he is, wearing all black. Maybe he was the one that took out Jacob Fatu. Who knows? Time will tell. Slick Vic, what are your thoughts on this final segment / match / fiasco on Friday Night SmackDown?
Well, Cody's suit must have that 5-way stretch because that sucker didn't tear.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. All I have is not much to say here. This is obviously hastily put together since Jacob is out, which is why this match took place. I don't know if you've read. Apparently, Jacob is hurt with an injury. They say it's non-wrestling related injury, whatever the hell that means. Maybe he's sick. I don't know. But anyways, the match was short, and it was more about seemingly advancing an angle. And as we found out just yesterday, I think, on via some social media platform, that the next Saturday night's main event will now be Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the World Heavyweight Championship, for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Stick around next week for Slick Vic's picks to see who I choose.
Wow, so we're having another picks next week. I didn't know it was going to be this soon, but yeah, I guess you're right. November the 2nd. November the 1st. Yeah, November the 1st, Saturday night's main event, a week and 2 days from now. So, yeah, we're going to have some picks. Wow. I'm excited now. Should we partake in a little theme music, maybe?
I mean, I want to reach for the crystal ball right now, but that's
you better not.
Well guarded, man.
You better not do that, yeah.
He said, wait till next week's episode, so I can't gaze into the crystal ball at this moment.
Why don't we move on to some Monday Night Raw presented by Slick Vic this week?
All right. Shall we begin?
Yes.
Let's do this. So, Monday Night Raw coming to you live from October 20th, 2025 in Sacramento, California. They show a brief recap of the events from last week with the Vision, and then we're live with Adam Pearce in the ring. He's about to provide a physical update on Seth Rollins, but the Titantron, we're still calling it the Titantron. I think we had this conversation before. It's the Titantron, right?
I call it the Titantron still, or the Tron.
Yeah. The Titantron shows a GMC Denali show up, and out comes the Bronze and Heyman. Breaker has the belt, and they make their way to the ring. It's because of these two. And Adam Pearce says it's because of these two people that Seth Rollins is hurt, and Pearce has officially stripped Rollins of the title and announces a good old-fashioned battle royal to determine who will face CM Punk at Saturday night's main event. So Pearce then wants the belt back from Braun Breaker. Braun says, "What if I don't?" Braun tells him to ask nicely. Pearce says, "Respectfully hand it over." Braun says, "Say please." Pearce angrily does. Braun gives it to Heyman, who finally gives it to Pearce, and then he walks off. Heyman grabs the mic and says, "Why is everyone so mad at us?" His usual, he references WWE Unreal and says, "We're the bad guys, we're the heels, you're supposed to boo us." And then he goes on to say that he didn't turn on Roman. He didn't turn on Punk. He did what he's done this year for the Bronze. He puts over the Bronze and says Seth is a bum shoulder bitch. And the future starts here. Welcome to Monday Night Raw. Any thoughts on this opening segment from Monday Night Raw, Mr. Mosley?
I thought that it was funny when he called him a bum shoulder bitch. other than that, I mean, I thought it was better than the start to SmackDown for sure. It was a little bit more upbeat. But yeah, I didn't really have any significant, like I said, it wasn't anything that I could say, oh my God, you know, it was just sort of, they're here to sort of build up the show.
Yeah.
So, run of the mill.
I don't know. I'm gonna proceed to put over Paul Heyman very strongly on the show because he was heavily featured.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The GOAT.
All right. So we go backstage to a Judgment Day promo. They hype up Roxanne Perez's match against Stephanie Vaquer for the women's championship. And then Don comes in, and Finn and JD are blaming Dom for the reason that they have to defend their titles tonight. And then they tell him they won't help Dom tonight against Rusev. Roxanne then offers Dom some sweet encouragement. And then we're on to the tag team match. Tag team match is now. We have AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough and Finn Balor. So JD and Dragon trade double stomps on each other. Not the ones in the corner for now. We'll get to that later. You know, I like how there's this point in the match where AJ drags Dragon Lee into the corner and tags himself in. I think AJ tags himself by dragging Dragon to the corner. Say that 3 times fast. He's a brief house of fire, but then he gets thrown out and we go to break. This is a pretty fast-paced match. I'm not going to go through the whole match because there's a lot of spots, but we do see that dumb corner spot where Dragon Lee does the double stomp to JD. But JD hits an atomic drop where he falls onto his knees into a backbreaker-like move onto Dragon, which I thought was really cool. There's also this great spot where JD hits a moonsault, followed immediately by Balor's coup de grace. The pin is broken up by Dragon Lee. It was cool, especially the way they filmed it. It was done so cinematically.
Cinema.
Yeah. Overall, I thought this was a fun match. I was surprised by the ending. I didn't think the team of AJ and Dragon Lee would win tag titles. Similar to how I didn't think Ilya Dragunov was going to walk away with the U.S. title on SmackDown. And I will say this, JD has kind of become the unsung hero of Raw. And I agree with Wade Barrett even said he's criminally underrated. And I'd love to see one more AJ Styles versus Finn Balor match in 2026 before AJ retires. What say you, Mr. Mosley? How did you feel about this first match of Raw?
Well, man, I agree with everything you said. And JD, we've mentioned this before. He puts on a show every single time he's in a match. He does so well. I would also love to see an AJ and Finn Balor match before he retires, and I think we'll get it. I think that'll happen, and I think it probably happen sooner than later. I was also surprised by the ending, but I thought the ending was great because, the announcers were even pointing out at the beginning of this how the tag titles are almost never defended. I think they said that they've defended them once in the last 100-something days. So hopefully we get more tag team championship title defenses on the show. Hopefully this is sort of bringing up the tag titles on Raw. We've already seen on SmackDown how they're starting to book them again and bring them into the fold a little bit more. Thought it was a very solid match though. Everybody was on point. Everybody got their shit in. I loved that save by Dragon Lee towards the end, where he dove for the tag, or he dove to break the pin up.
Yeah.
And thought that was really good. I thought that was a pretty memorable moment, and for that, it got a 0.5 in memorable moments for me. Overall, this got 3 gigawatts for the Mosley rating. I thought it was a fairly solid affair. Quality 1, memorable moments 0.5, emotion 0.5, and result 1.
Okay. So backstage, we have a promo with the Usos. Jimmy says the reason he's not champion is... Jimmy says the way Jay is not champion is because Jay stopped believing in Jay. And Jay says he might be right. But he also says Roman might be right too. Jimmy says he's going in on everybody in the Rumble. They end saying they're cool. They shake hands and we move on. So the next match is Dominic Mysterio versus Rusev for the IC Intercontinental Championship. This was fun. Dom starts off the aggressor, hits a dive before Rusev gets in the ring and slams Rusev in the steel steps. Back end Rusev comes back with the clothesline and takes control with tosses, slams, kicks. Dom comes back with an axe handle smash from the second rope, but Rusev regains control with a fall-away slam. And this goes on for a while. Every time Dom tries to mount offense, Rusev basically cuts him off. And that makes sense. Dom tries to go for the three amigos, but Rusev attempts to reverse it. But then Dom reverses it himself into a suplex. And then, let's see. Rusev gains control again, attempts the accolade, but Dom slithers out and tries to leave the match. But then Penta shows up and cuts him off. Penta and Rusev go at it for a bit while Dom slips the bell hammer back into his boot just like he did the week prior. He tries the 619, but Rusev catches him. Rusev grabs the hammer and tries to hit Dom with it, but the ref stops him, which causes the distraction for Dom to hit a low blow and then a frog splash and wins. My thoughts. Dom cheats and wins again. Fun stuff. Dom's matches are very entertaining and have this unique feel where he's the cowardly heel that we cheer for, and we want to see him win. And at least that's what I think. And post-match, Penta springboard DDTs Rusev. Any insight from Mr. Mosley here?
Well, from what I saw, I thought it was a fairly one-sided match. I mean, Rusev was tossing Dom around and suplexing him and killing him through most of the match. And I thought that this might have been it for Dom, really. I mean, but that's just, that just goes to show you how well Dom is doing as champion and what he's doing. Because I can't wait for the day that he gets caught. I can't wait for the day that his antics catch up to him. But at the same time, I want it to keep going. He's got all of these tactics that he's pulling out, all of this inspiration from like Eddie back in the day, and it's great. But I will say, I will ask you, Slick Vic, what do you think? How many gigawatts did Mosley give this match?
Okay,
based on the criteria, and again, I'll mention its build, quality, memorable moments, emotion, and result.
All right, for build, I would like to think you'd give it a 1 because these two have been going at it for several weeks now. Maybe you give it a half.
Okay.
Do I keep going? Before you
keep
give
going?
Answers?
Keep going.
Okay. All right. So for quality, maybe you're going to give it a half. And I'm sorry, please refresh memory. The other two categories were?
Memorable moments, emotion, and result.
Memorable moments, I'm going to say you gave it a 0. For emotion, I mean, I was hooting and hollering. I don't know about you, but so maybe you gave it a half. And result, half.
Okay, well, for build, I gave it a 0.5. So half. You said 1 or half. So yeah, they have been going at it for a while. The reason it got a half is because they had their match, and then it's sort of like some other stuff happened in between, and then they have this match out of it. It seemed like it was a little bit out of the blue, so that's why it got a half. They did have some recent history, but it wasn't continuous, ongoing thing. Quality got a half. Memorable moments got none. Emotion got none. For me, I didn't feel any emotion during this. If any emotion, I would have felt sorry for Dom for getting his guts beat out. Result got a 1, so overall 2. This was a 2 gigawatt match.
Okay.
Vic had to get him a little bite to eat, a little something over there. What you got there, Vic?
I will not do that again. I got a mozzarella stick.
It's not time for those yet.
Anywho, I apologize for that slight delay.
I thought that was a post libation ritual of yours.
It is definitely, but I am like, I had I was kind of hungry. I was like,
okay,
really hungry.
Okay.
I had to feed the beast.
Eat away, Vic. Eat away. You're fine.
I'm done. I'm good now.
We're live, pal. That's all.
That was my last one. So, anyways, I don't know. I mentioned this. Yeah, the cowardly heel that we cheer for, which I think is hilarious. This is kind of a unique dynamic, and I'm all here for it. But moving on, we have for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, we have Maxine Dupree versus Becky Lynch. This is a rematch from 2 weeks ago where Maxine won by DQ, and here we have the second match, this time for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know if the first one was for the Intercontinental title or not, but nonetheless, Becky starts off as the aggressor, and then Maxine gets a few pinning counters. Becky takes over again, and we go to break, come back, and Becky's still in charge. Maxine hits a really great-looking jawbreaker counter from the manhandle slam, which I thought was really good. Maxine starts her own comeback, but definitely needs some polishing because those clotheslines and punches looked weak as hell. And she did hit a decent, perfect plex. Can you believe that? Maxine, hooked up Becky, and she hit the perfect plex. If she hit the pinfall, maybe she could have got the 1, 2, 3 because it's the perfect plex, baby. Like the Boss Man Slam. Whenever I see the perfect plex, I'm going to call it like I see it. All right. So Becky hits the Fisherman Suplex. That was the perfect plex.
Wait, you called it the fit? Okay.
I was like, okay, fine. Do I call it the proper name this time? It's almost like Joe Hendry. If I say perfect plex, I got to hear the music because that music rocks.
Would you rather say a bridging Fisherman Suplex, or would you just rather say perfect plex?
Perfect plex.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay, so then Maxine gets up, she pulls the straps down, and we have a slugfest. Maxine locks in the ankle lock. Becky counters to an armbar. Then Maxine flips over rather nicely and locks in the ankle lock again. The commentators then call this match a dogfight. Now, in my mind, I went back to the 90s ECW, and I hear Joey Styles yelling, "Cat fight," in his very high-pitched shriek. I don't know, is this a dog fight or a cat fight? You tell me. I don't know. Anyways, Becky hits Maxine with the IC title and gets DQ'd. Just like last time, I think Maxine surprised us and just about most people, I think, and looked great out there. And I think Becky deserves some of the props for that too, for making, for her work as well. So overall, all things considered, decent match. How did the gigawatt scale grade this match? Because I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this one.
Well, I thought it was same. I thought it was pretty decent. Maxine, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of her stuff just looks so weak. She needs to lay it in a little bit more. Her facial expressions kind of get me too whenever she's wrestling. She seems too surprised by things that are going on. Like her eyeballs are big as silver dollars the entire time. Like she's just so shocked. I don't know what she's shocked about, but she's shocked about something. But otherwise, I think that she was given this match because of the hype that her previous match got over Becky, and I think that's what it was intended to do, sort of showcase her and let her shine a little bit, give her a chance to show us what she's got. And again, I think we've seen it. I think we've seen all that we're going to see out of Maxine right now. She just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, and then it'll probably take off. As far as the gigawatt scale, I gave Build a 0.5. I've been working on this for a little while. Quality got a 0.5, mostly because of Becky. Memorable moments, I didn't see any in this match. Emotion got a 1 because they were in Maxine's hometown, so emotions were high. The crowd was very into it, really wanting to see her win this one. Result got a 0 because I would have rather seen Maxine 1, even though I think that she still has some work to do. I feel like Becky Lynch is sort of holding hostage the Intercontinental Championship when she doesn't need it, and it doesn't need her any longer at this point. I feel like it needs to fall back in line with, people who are going to continue to work and have matches on the regular each week, and, the workhorse title, that's what it needs to become. So yeah, it got a 0 because it left the crowd deflated seeing how it ended. And so yeah, got a 2 gigawatts from me.
So the Perfect Plex didn't give you a half a star from the memorable moments.
It would have.
Maybe she won the match that way.
I think if this had been, if you had been rating this, you would have definitely gave the memorable moments a 0.5. But for me, I was just like, oh, Perfect Plex, cool. I wasn't as into it as you were, even though I do love the Perfect Plex, and God rest his soul, Mr. Perfect. It just wasn't enough to get a point or a half a point in that category for the Mosley scale.
Fair enough. Moving on, we have a video package with the Kabuki Warriors. Now, I don't know if you saw any footage or pictures from their tour. The WWE recently did a couple shows in Tokyo, and Rhea Ripley has a broken nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the video package, Asuka says Rhea got what she deserves, and then we got the return of the subtitles. Asuka gloats about breaking Rhea's nose, and then they set their sights on the women's tag team titles. So, remind me, who are the women's tag team champions right now on Raw?
There's no women's tag team champions on Raw. There's only one set of women's tag team titles,
which is held by Charlotte and Alexa.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Which is fine. We're not complaining. We don't want another set of tag team titles.
No, we don't. We do not. No, absolutely not. So backstage, Adam Pearce tells Paul Heyman that the graphic for the Battle Royal has been changed because the Brawns have been removed from the Rumble. The Battle Royal, I should say. And Pearce tells Heyman that if he wants them back, say please. Heyman does, but Pearce still says no. Heyman is freaking hilarious here. The man is on my Mount Rushmore of managers, along with Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, and I sometimes I struggle to pick my fourth pick. It's usually between these two. It's usually between Jimmy Hart and Sherry Martel, for the same reason, because they're both very good and they both had very prolific careers in and out of WWE. So if we're gonna do a brief little a sidebar here, I have my Mount Rushmore of managers in wrestling of all time. I got Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, and Jimmy Hart. Sometimes I swap out Jimmy Hart for Sherry Martel. Do you happen to have a Mount Rushmore? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, Mr. Mosley, but do you happen to have 4 favorite managers?
I think the 4 that you mentioned originally, it's hard to knock them out of that spot.
It's indisputable.
For anybody.
I think those 3 are indisputable.
I think that maybe, I don't know. I don't know anybody else that, because managers are sort of a dime a dozen these days. Back in the 80s, even in the early 90s, managers were a lot more prevalent. But now it's like you barely ever really see manager characters. No. What about Paul Bearer?
Paul Bearer is very, very memorable, but he only managed...
He managed Undertaker and Kane and Mankind, so he didn't really...
Briefly Vader.
Yeah, he did. So I understand. He was sort of a one-trick pony in that respect. He didn't have a wide variety, but I'm just trying to think of like memorable managers. I don't know. I can't think of any more than that.
Do you remember Jimmy Hart?
Yeah.
You remember Sherry Martel? Of course you do. For many reasons.
Sensational Sherry? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sensational Sherry, Scary Sherry, Queen Sherry, and Sister Sherry.
Yeah. I remember a lot of managers, but none that would fit on the Mount Rushmore. I remember Terry Runnels for a couple of reasons too, but
I mean, you can even say Elizabeth.
Yeah, but again, you go back to who did she actually manage? There was only maybe 2 or 3 people that she could have been associated with.
Right. And obviously, like Paul Bearer, the main one is Macho Man with Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though Hogan had lust for Elizabeth.
Okay. So, yeah. If for our listeners, if you got your Mount Rushmore of managers in and out of WWE, I'd love to hear them. Even if you don't agree with, even if you think Bobby, Jim, and Paul don't belong in that list, that's fine. I want to hear your Mount Rushmore of managers in wrestling of all time.
I do too, because I think that it would be a very hard argument to push out any of those 3 guys.
Yeah, the 3 wise men.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the segment is not over yet because Becky Lynch then shows up and confronts Heyman. And Heyman pleads his case for why he did what he did. And then he even offers Becky, well, he didn't really do anything. It was more about his behavior after the Bronze beat up her husband. Anyways, Paul offers Becky a spot in the division. In his words, she can have a hot husband at home and an adorable oracle on the road. Becky calls him a penguin-faced prick and says Seth will get even with him and everyone he's close with. I'm glad she said that because for weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe even years, I've been talking about how Paul Heyman is basically the Penguin from the Batman, from the DC universe. Because look, he's absolutely the Penguin. He's like a mobster type character. He's conniving. He's manipulative. He is the Penguin, and he is the embodiment of Oswald Cobblepot in the WWE world.
Okay, I'm glad you added that ending because I was going to ask you a question until you added that ending.
Well, I still want to hear this question now.
When you said he's the embodiment of Oswald Cobblepot, I was going to ask, more so than Danny DeVito?
Danny DeVito is fantastic. I mean, he's my Penguin.
I love Batman Returns. It's my favorite Batman movie. It's so good.
Yeah. You don't really think you'll win, do you? Things change.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can quote that movie for days. It's like, I played this stinking city like a harp from hell. Oh, man.
I like the part where he's like standing there eating that fish in front of everybody. And then he's like, things could be worse. Your nose could be gushing blood. He's like, what?
Takes a bite. Oh, man. I saw that at a young age, and I think Michelle Pfeiffer did things to me. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She is my Catwoman.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer is definitely my Catwoman as well. For
sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like Michael Keaton's my Batman.
He's the only Batman. He's the well, I won't say that. That's taken a little far because, the Dark Knight trilogy was great, but I think Michael Keaton he's Batman. He's Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever watch Birdman?
Yeah.
The movie he done?
Yeah, that was good.
Wow. I think that's such an underrated movie. That was like one continuous. Yeah. I don't know. They probably They probably fudged it and edited it to look that way, but like it was like one continuous thing through the whole thing, and it was like, it's so good.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he also did the same director did The Revenant, which had bits like that as well, where it felt like long continuous takes at times. I don't know if you saw The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio.
I haven't seen it, no, but I think that's the only movie he ever won like a Oscar for, wasn't it?
DiCaprio, yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, like DiCaprio's been nominated, I think 5 or 6 times, and I don't know. I thought he did better performances than The Revenant. For most of The Revenant, he's just crawling around in pain, and I'm like,
he's had much better movies, but they just finally gave it to him for this one.
It's like a sympathy card. Like, here you go, bro. We know you deserve one, so here you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we, as Taz would say, but I digress. So here we are now. Back to the show. We got Stephanie Vicaire versus Roxanne Perez. I believe this is for Stephanie's Women's World Championship. So we got some chain wrestling to start the match. Stephanie proposes a test of strength, which she turns into a submission hold, but Roxanne escapes. Stephanie hits a Nina Williams-esque jumping body scissors. Have you ever played any of the Tekken games, Mr. Mosley?
I have. I'm not super familiar with them, but yes, I have played Tekken.
Okay. I still am a huge Tekken fan, but there's a character named Nina Williams, and I can't remember her discipline at the top of my head, but she does this exact same move where she kind of like jumps at her opponent and does a body scissors. And I'm like, oh my God, Stephanie just pulled that out of Tekken. Anyways.
Oh, no. I know the spot you're talking about, Vic. And I'm surprised. Now it's clicking. I'm surprised that you made the comparison to Tekken there. You know what I made the comparison to?
Dead or Alive? Street Fighter? Man, this is going to haunt me. Virtua Fighter?
Wow, Vic. Wow, I'm surprised at you.
Man.
Mortal Kombat 2, Scorpion, forward, down, back, low kick.
That useless sweep movie does.
Yeah. That's what she did.
Man. Well, I don't know what the movie is called in Tekken, but if you ever go watch Nina Williams, I'm like, you'll see right there too. Like, that's definitely Nina.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so Stephanie tries to bridge out of a pinning predicament, but couldn't quite get it, which was unfortunate because we've seen that spot a million times, and I was kind of like, oh. Roxanne slaps Stephanie. Stephanie tries to hit a devil's kiss, but Roxanne reverses. Raquel then gets involved and gets a shot in on Stephanie, and we go to break. Stephanie hits an awkward meteor. It's almost like she slowed down just before she hit it. I think Roxanne was supposed to just move out of the way, but nonetheless, she hits it. Stephanie locks in the devil's kiss, and we get smoocheroo from Joe Tessitore. And Wade says, this is what everyone came here for. And Roxanne hits a series of moves like the tilt-a-whirl facebuster. Stephanie replies with a 619. Stephanie splashes both Roxanne and Raquel, then hits the angel wings in the ring for the win. I thought this was a decent match. Nice back and forth action. Match was designed to make Stephanie look good, and Roxanne managed to shine as well. What say you?
I mean, yeah, I feel the same. Roxanne was able. I don't know if this was actually for the title. I didn't get that in my notes or anything, but I thought that it was pretty good, pretty decent. It got a 2.5 gigawatts out of me. 0.5 for build, 1 for quality, and 1 for result. So, do you have any notes on the post-match, Slick Vic? Because there were some happenings there in the post-match, and I'm curious if you caught any of that and what you thought about it.
I'm glad you reminded me. Yes, because afterwards, Raquel and Roxanne start beating up Stephanie, and who comes out to help? It's Nikki Bella. Big thumbs down from Mr. Mosley there. Not only was it a big thumbs down, but there was also a big black screen.
Yeah, that's what I have in my notes.
What happened?
Well, in my notes for this match, I have 0 notes for the match. My notes for the match start out with this. Post-match, Nikki Bella's tits almost pop out. to the degree that they black out the screen for a few seconds. I had to rewind to see if that's what happened, and yeah, they almost lost their footing. But no more than some of the other women that let theirs hang free, so I'm not sure why they had to black out the screen or why she covered them up so quickly. But yeah, I had to rewind that part.
If the King was on commentary, Jerry Lawler, he would have got a puppies yell, wouldn't we have?
Puppies! Did you see that, JR?
I noticed too, like it went to black, and when it came back, there was a lot of attention on the heels.
Yeah, she was like doing this, and I'm like, what is wrong? Like, what? Like, did they actually fall out? Is that what it?
Well, I don't know if we'll ever know unless some fan cam shows up on the internet somewhere.
I mean, I rewinded it and I eagle-eyed it to the best of my ability. I didn't see anything significant there.
Okay.
2.5.
After this, so they get to 2.5 stars the whole match?
The match got a 2.5.
Would you like to break down the star rating, or do you
I think I did. You got a 0.5 for build. It got a 1 for quality. It got a 1 for result. So a 0 in the memorable moments and emotion category.
Is Wade Barrett right when Stephanie hits the Devil's Kiss? This is what we're all here for.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's worth a ticket. It's worth the new age price of admission.
Oh man! Actually, I read about that today too. How TKO has like doubled the price of tickets, and they have not seen any loss in ticket sales yet.
It's ridiculous. They need to. They need to be boycotted. And I'm as big a WWE fan as you'll find, but I mean it's ridiculous.
You know, I mean, I can't even just take my wife, let alone if like one day I want to take kids with me.
Yeah, I've taken my kid to. I've taken Houston to AW. I think it was a Collision taping, and then in Lexington at Rupp Arena, and then I took him to a Monday Night Raw, and it was a blast. And it's fun being there just because you're there. You know what I mean? But now you can't even be there. You get there and, drinks and concessions and memorabilia cups and stuff like that's already sky high. So, like, you want to get something to drink, but the kid wants the cool cup, and you got to shell out $35 for it, and the T-shirt's $40, and you know what I mean? Like, after a while, it's just like, it's just not worth it. So.
Okay. Well, moving on, we got 3 backstage segments right after this. I'm going to quickly gloss over. Okay, we got Bailey says she'll see Lyra next week. Great. Here's a more meatier one. We got backstage Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Breaker questions Heyman as to why they're not in the Rumble. Heyman goes on into his history in the last 20-something years, talking about how Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns all listen to him, and they should do the same. Breaker says he's got a lot to learn. Bronson says, me too. Breaker says he's got a lot of people to hurt too. Bronson says, me too. Heyman again, just excellent work. The man is conniving as all hell, and I'm here for all of it. Love it. And the third segment is Stephanie and Nikki backstage saying they got each other's back. Cool. So, any thoughts on these backstage segments?
Not really, man. I didn't have any notes for the backstage segments, but I really liked the one with the Bronze and Paul Heyman because he schooled them. It's like they kept pushing him, and finally he schooled them. And I mean, he gave him the rundown, and then he walks away, and Breaker's like, we still got a lot to learn, and that made me hopeful that they're not going to be going straight into the Braun Breaker world title picture, because I do not think he's ready for that. As good as he is, he's just not ready for that just yet. And I really want to see the Brauns win the tag team championships, become, a tag team that has similar attires and stuff. When they wore the attires a couple of weeks ago with the spikes and stuff, it gave Legion of Doom vibes, when they came out looking like that. And, like, I want to see that again. You know, I want that to come back. So it sort of made me hopeful that that might be the direction we're going.
Okay. Well, time for the main event. And what's it called? So we have a bunch of entrances, including CM Punk, who comes out for commentary, which he's always been good at. So I do have a fair amount of notes here, but let's see. I'm gonna kind of breeze through them because there was a lot of good moments. I thought this was a very, very good battle royal. I don't know how you felt about this, but I'll get your thoughts on this when it's all said and done. We got Ivar and Otis have a face-off. We haven't seen Otis in a while. Rusev tosses both Alpha Academy members out. Punk says he would like to avoid Dirty Dom because he doesn't want to wash because Dom doesn't wash his gear. Judgment Day throw out Dragon in a very scary looking way. Dom eliminates both Penta and Rusev to a huge pop. And then there's Sheamus, who we haven't seen in a while. I haven't seen him since the Donnybrook match. He tangles with Ivar. Sheamus hits a very hard Irish curse on him onto the apron, which eliminates him. The Usos team up to throw out Americano. Sheamus gives the 10 beats of the Belfry and eliminates both members of the Judgment Day. Well, I should say JD and Finn. And then only to have Kofi eliminate him. And this is the best part. AJ throws out Dom, but the refs don't see it. They are distracted by the fight with Sheamus, Finn, and JD. And then he goes back in. This is right out of Royal Rumble 1997 when Stone Cold Steve Austin got thrown out, but the refs didn't see, so he just goes back into the ring. And then Jimmy saves Jay from an elimination from LA Knight. But then Jimmy throws out AJ. Jay throws out both Knight and Jimmy, much to the chagrin of Jimmy. Then Dom tries to sneak in and throw out Jay, but Jay counters it and tosses him out to win the match. Like as I said, this was a lot of fun. There was a lot of feuds here that had their moments, and there was also a lot of exciting moments. I knew it was going to be either Jay or LA Knight, so I knew I had 50% chance of calling the match here, right? Yeah, definitely had 50% chance. And then Jay and Punk face off to end the show. What did you think of this Rumble? I keep saying Rumble, but it's a battle royal.
Battle royal, yeah. Well, so first of all, I want to look because I had several notes for this as well, so I was into it because I was taking notes left and right. The people that I noted in this Rumble, or that I'm doing it too, in this Battle Royal, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Sheamus, AJ Styles, El Grande Americano, Dom, Rusev, Kofi Kingston, Ivar, Otis, Dragon Lee, Akira Tozawa, JD McDonough, Finn Balor, Penta, and LA Knight. Those were your contenders in this match to determine who is going to face CM Punk for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday night's main event on November the 1st. And you gave us the rundown of what happened in the match. I love seeing Sheamus back. He hit that move on Ivar. I put white noise, but you said it was Irish curse, so I must have had it wrong.
I could be wrong too.
Okay, well, it's one of his signature moves. That was impressive. Eliminating Penta and Rusev at the same time. Americano loads the mask but gets a 1D by the Usos and eliminated. Dom avoided the elimination, like you said, due to the refs not paying attention. A couple of notes on this. First of all, there's 4 referees in this match surrounding the ring. 4 refs. And not one of them could stay there and watch and pay attention to what was going on in the match for Dom to get eliminated and then to run back in. I thought that was kind of silly. Like, I understand the spot and Dom in his sleazy, slimy ways is going to get back in the ring, and I get that, but there's fucking 4 referees. If you're going to do this spot and this is going to be a big spot in the match, maybe have 2 refs out there. Don't make it so obvious that this is something that shouldn't happen. I also thought it was kind of a questionable lineup. You have some clear losers who are taking spots in this match, like Tozawa, Dragon Lee, Ivar, Otis. But noticeably, the match was missing people like Damian Priest, Aleister Black. Where were these guys?
I believe they're SmackDown talent.
Damian Priest is?
I believe so.
Well, he must be if he's feuding with Aleister Black. I thought that it was the point still is there are some people in this match that you know are not going to win. Akira Tozawa is not going to win this match and go on to face CM Punk.
Who are you to doubt Akira Tozawa?
Yeah. I happen to think Akira Tozawa is a fine wrestler. No. The reason why I wrote Damian Priest and Aleister Black is because they're in a feud together, and I started thinking, who's former world champions, and I thought of Damian Priest. And I think that's why I put them down without giving a second thought as to them being on SmackDown, but that sort of bugged me a little bit, like, okay, maybe Ivar could win this. That would be interesting. What if Ivar won? All right, that would be cool. That would be interesting. Otis, maybe, but probably not. So, Jey Uso winning, I gave the result of this match a 0.5. I gave it a half because that's the easy way out. And I think I would have rather saw anyone else win, but having Jay win it is sort of like, he's a former world champion. He's sort of been going back and forth with CM Punk as of late anyway, but it sort of, it kind of throws a wrench into this entire battle royal to have the guy who literally just fought CM Punk for the #1 contendership win the match, and now we're going to see them fight each other again. So I think I would have rather had a different result, but I think the result that they went with was not a bad one. It was just sort of an easy out. And so for me, that got a 0.5. Altogether, this Battle Royal got 2.5 gigawatts, 0 for build, quality 0.5, memorable moments got a 1. I think that's the first 1 gigawatt that I've given to any match for memorable moments between Raw and SmackDown this past week. And emotion got a 0.5. So that's my take from it.
All right. Are you looking forward to Jey Uso and CM Punk for the vacant world title?
Not really. No.
I would have preferred LA Knight. I've mentioned this the last few weeks. I really want to see an LA Knight CM Punk feud.
That would have been a yeah, why couldn't he win? Why did it have to be? Yeah, like, and 2, Jey Uso eliminated Jimmy Uso and LA Knight at the same time. So the big takeaway, I think, with the Usos in this match was that Jey eliminated his brother. He turned on his brother and eliminated him to further his own agenda.
Yeah.
And, there was some fallout there. They were arguing. They could have done that at any other point in the match without Jey winning. They could have done that spot with when 5 or 6 guys were left, and it would have still got the point across. And then LA Knight could have won. Would have been more interesting. But instead, we got Jey Uso winning the match. So, for me, Vic, and I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not making my predictions. Maybe I am. I think this is 100% definite CM Punk is going to walk away with the championship here. And I don't know how it's going to happen. If Jimmy's going to cost Jey because he eliminated him, or if some other kind of crazy stuff's going to happen, I do not see them putting the world title back on Jey. I don't think that he was a very effective champion when he did have it. And I think that when CM Punk won the title for the 15 seconds or whatever he won it, people were very excited. People were pumped. I think people wanted to see that run. And I think that it's a definite CM Punk win here.
All right. Well, we'll definitely cast aspersions next week when the crystal ball emerges. And then we, Slick Vic's picks and Mr. Mosley's musings come to fruition.
Absolutely. I think the gigawatts are my musings. I don't have musings on predictions. I hate being wrong. So,
how do you think I feel, man? I'm the one with the crystal ball.
I know. But that's the fun of it. That's when you can make your predictions, and then the following week I can be like, Slick Vic, man, 2 out of 6. You got, you know what I mean?
Oh man, so you get a kick out of that.
I get a kick out of it. I get a kick out of it. I want to bring back the original buzzer. I don't remember exactly. I probably don't even have it on here. What is this one? No, that's well. That was one of the bad ones. I like the Wheel of Fortune one that we had, or what was it? Was it Wheel of Fortune? Yeah, it was Wheel of Fortune. I guess I don't have it on here anymore. I think we done away with it, but we might be bringing that back next week or week after next.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Well, thus concludes Monday Night Raw from Sacramento on the 10th of October. Now, it is now time to go old school. We got our first retro review. We have WCW's Halloween Havoc from 1996, specifically from October 27th, 1996, at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right. First thing I want to say is I love the stage setup. It's not quite as flashy as WWE stages, but it almost has this like B-movie charm to it with the tombstones. There's a video screen that's on like a mausoleum. Did you have any thoughts on the stage set?
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, this is, it's Halloween Havoc, so you're thinking, okay, it's going to be Halloween themed. And for the most part, it's just a pay-per-view. But they have the logo in the ring, they have all of that, but the stage is what really sets it apart, like you said. It reminds me of the old WWF In Your House stage, where it had like the house, the little picture of the house on there. It kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. I really liked it.
And hearing Bobby Heenan on commentary again is very nostalgic for me. We talked about Bobby earlier. And I'll also talk about Dusty as well. Dusty adds his bits as well. So some good stuff here. So we opened the show with arguably the best match of the show. Probably the best match of the show, which is Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio Jr. We got prime Rey Mysterio here. He's super quick and smooth. There are moves here that U.S. audiences had probably never seen unless you were a hardcore tape trader. Because before the internet, kids, we had tape trading. So many quick counters and reversals. Rey's small size and flexibility also helps Dean Malenko shine with his various submission holds. He's called the man of 1,000 holds for a reason, but according to Chris Jericho, he knows about 60. But Malenko's not a big guy. He's able to throw around Rey like he's a big guy. The second act of the match is all Dean. It's all ground. He's all grounding Rey, and he's putting him through various submission holds, sometimes multiple times, like lots of sleeper holds here. After a while, I felt like I was waiting for Rey to hurry up and make his comeback. But at one point, Dean hit a fantastic-looking snap armbar, belly-to-belly suplex, and then they finally, what's it called? And then they finally let Rey pick up the offense. He hits a bunch of offensive moves and counters. And even Bobby Heenan says there's 806 moves in that segment. And Dean counters the West Coast Pop, which I don't think it was called that at the time, into a powerbomb, which was really smooth and really nice. Dean wins with a gut wrench powerbomb off the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. Overall, I thought this was a decent opener. while these two have great chemistry, the ground game from Dean brought the action down just a slight notch for me. But like I said, it's a great match, and Ray looked amazing, and you can see that this man was the human highlight reel, as they say. Any thoughts on the opening match here?
I thought it was incredible. And it was like a breath of fresh air to see this kind of a wrestling match, and many of the matches from this card were a breath of fresh air for me. Just having watched wrestling over the years and being kind of used to the modern day and what we're used to, this was just a technical clinic, and Dean Malenko is so friggin' good. I actually looked up how tall this guy was during the match because I'm like, damn, he looks short. Like, something's going on with this guy. I always knew he was short. He's 5'8". He's the same height as me. I think it's his legs. I think his legs are just a little bit short. But he's an incredible wrestler.
Yeah.
The finish for me felt a little anticlimactic because you get sucked into the match so much, and they're doing all these moves and all these holds, and the gut-wrench powerbomb from the second rope or top turnbuckle or whatever it was, it was a big move, but it didn't really... It fit with the rest of the match. It just felt like it was another move that they were doing, but then he picks up the 3. So that sort of, to me, that was sort of... It didn't build to this ending. It was just like move after move after move after move, and then he gets a pinfall.
Yeah.
But, that's the difference in what I'm used to seeing in modern day, where they clearly build to an end, versus back then where they just wrestle until one of them gets beat. So, great match. Thought it was fun. Very, very good match.
Okay. After this, we got a backstage segment with Jeff Jarrett being Jeff Jarrett. And then Ric Flair comes in being Ric Flair.
Woo!
I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah. Ain't I great? Anyways, second match of the night. We have Diamond Dallas Page versus Eddie Guerrero. Now, you have to be I don't know if you caught this, but when DDP came out, did you notice there was no commentary? It was just DDP walking to the ring.
No, I noticed DDP was smoking a cigar about 1.5 feet long. That's all I noticed.
DDP's original theme has been changed for this version because DDP's original theme was pretty much Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah,
and I think they couldn't get away with it anymore on the WWE Network / Peacock, so they had to edit it. And as a result, you don't hear Tony Schiavone or Bobby Heenan or Dusty talking. You just see DDP walk to the ring in silence. And then the match is billed as a battle for the ring, which I had to do a little bit of research from because it's apparently Eddie won the ring from DDP at the previous Clash of the Champions. But there's no physical ring during this match, so what are they fighting for? I don't even know. Dusty puts over the Guerrero family on commentary. DDP does a lot of grandstanding and hot dogging. He's on offense for the majority of this match. DDP at one point says to Eddie, "Come on, girlfriend," which the what's it called? The commentary makes note of too. Anyways, I thought this was a rather slow and kind of boring match at times. I have fond memories of this feud when I was younger, and I'm sure they've had better matches than this one because this was kind of a styles clash. DDP hits a nice gut-wrench gut-buster, a good tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and then DDP cowers in the corner to Nick Patrick, who's in a neck brace, which is also very bizarre because, as you'll see later on in the night, Nick Patrick's a crooked referee. So, I don't know. That was just really weird to me. And after watching the Rey Mysterio match from the previously, Eddie's aerial offense at the time here was just not as exciting. DDP loads up the diamond cutter, like takes forever to load it up and still hits it and gets the 1, 2, 3. Didn't do much for me. What about you?
No, same. And I had asked you about a week ago, is this the spot where he like power bombs him into a diamond cutter, and you said, "Yeah, I think it is." It wasn't. This wasn't it.
I was wrong. No.
I don't know what spot that's from, but it was weird because even the announcers, whenever he hit the diamond cutter, Tony Schiavone was like, "Oh, but Eddie Guerrero got his hands up. He absorbed some of the impact from that. He might not be up." Well, I guess that's it because he got the 3 count.
Yeah.
So again, it was a sort of an anticlimactic ending to this match, but I thought the match went way too long. I think they could have easily shaved off 6-7 minutes of this match, considering the ending. You've got 2 greats in the ring, DDP and Eddie Guerrero, but for some reason it just didn't click. It just wasn't exciting. It was probably the worst match of the night, and it wasn't even that bad of a match, but it just, it's just something about it just wasn't great.
So backstage, Randy Savage, the Macho Man, is trying to be copacetic in a political world.
Dig it!
And they're giving away a Slim Jim monster truck. Savage is very animated here, very unhinged, and very entertaining as always. I think he even says he wants the winner to run over Hogan with the truck.
Yeah,
I have to go back and hear that because Randy was just all over the place. And WCW then is promoting their CompuServe with Chris Jericho. Wow, that was a trip down memory lane. I don't know if you've ever heard of CompuServe, but man, this is like old school internet, like really, really like dawn of time internet stuff. Holy crap. Yeah, anyways, Mike Tenay then interviews Dean Malenko. He says anyone that wants a title shot can take it. You just have to grab a ticket and get in line, I believe was the word. And then Ted DiBiase is with the Giant in the crowd. They are upset that Jeff Jarrett didn't join the NWO, and Giant is holding the U.S. title, which actually belongs to Ric Flair, which leads us to our third match of the evening. We got the Giant versus Jeff Jarrett. So Ric Flair comes out to be in Jarrett's corner, and Dusty's in commentary saying how Rick is the best guy to have in his corner. He's the dirtiest player in the game and all that. Bobby does his own version of the same spiel, and Dusty says, "I just said all that. Where were you?" And Dusty says, "Yes, but I'm doing it in English." I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways. This match is hilarious, man.
It's great.
Jeff Jarrett, he starts the match off with his own version of the Superman punch, which the Giant no-sells, but Jarrett still does his strut immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
And then Ric Flair starts strutting himself outside the ring and starts wooing. It gets a huge pop from the crowd, by the way. The crowd is all behind Ric Flair. When the Giant tosses Jarrett across the ring, Heenan says, "While you're up there, change some light bulbs." The Giant hitting a headbutt between Jarrett's legs is really odd sight. And then Rick grabs the mic and tells Jarrett to kick his NWO ass. Jarrett locks in a figure 4 outside the ring, which is questionable, but the Giant just reaches over and grabs him by the throat, which I thought was really cool. Good sight. The Giant wins by DQ after Flair low blows the Giant. Overall, it's a simple David and Goliath match. Jeff's offense made sense, and Giant sold when it was justified. And I don't know. I thought the comedy, if that was supposed to be comedy, was hilarious. So I had fun with this match. What did you think?
Same, dude. I loved that Flair was there ringside. I loved when he grabbed the mic and he just started. Because I was watching it and I was like, wow, I can hear Ric Flair all of a sudden, like really loud. And then I realized he had a mic in his hand. He just went over there and grabbed a mic and started like berating the Giant and saying, "Kick his NWO ass." And he was like strutting all over the place. I also caught that, before the match, during the promo backstage, Jarrett said, "There's no way the Giant is going to choke slam me." And he didn't. He almost did on the outside. And that's when Flair low blows the Giant and causes the DQ. So Yeah, I thought it was funny. It was great. I love Ric Flair, obviously. Everybody knows. Big Ric Flair fan.
Woo! Woo!
And it was great seeing him here, man, as it always is.
All right. So Ted DiBiase hypes up Syxx for our next match, which is Syxx versus Chris Jericho. Syxx says Jericho is going to be crucified for the sins of WCW. So the match starts off with some decent chain wrestling. They trade leapfrogs. Syxx's kip-ups are quick as hell. I don't think I've ever seen a kip-up as fast as Syxx. It's 1, 2, 3 Kid / X-Pac for all you WWE fans. And Jericho's no slouch either. He hits some really good arm drags. Immediately you can see both men have tons of charisma. And Shivani brings up Jericho's dad, how he played for many hockey teams, and Heenan says, if he's so good, why do they keep trading him? Lots of attention on the Dungeon of Doom, which at this point consists of the eclectic pairing of Kevin Sullivan, Conan, and the big boss man. I mean, Big Bubba Rogers. And they're all sitting in the crowd, and Syxx hits a great-looking second rope elbow to Jericho, who is draped on the apron. Jericho comes back with a springboard splash to Syxx, who's outside, and he hits the lion salt springboard slash. And this is where we notice that Nick Patrick is counting slow whenever Jericho attempts a pinfall. Even Dusty and Heenan see it. And at one point, they even count together for the ending of the match. When Jericho loses the match, Syxx goes over with a spinning heel kick. And, that crooked ref, Nick Patrick. Any thoughts about this match here between Y2J and X-Pac?
I thought it was a solid match. I caught how when Jericho was coming out during his entrance, I don't remember what announcer it was. It was probably Shivani, but he's like, the young up-and-comer. He's going to have a big future here in World Championship Wrestling. Chris Jericho. And I was like, okay, yeah. If you only knew what I know now. Which he did. I mean, but, to think of Chris Jericho as a young up-and-comer, and this match was 96, just makes me feel old. But, yeah, I liked it, man. I thought it was good. And you get another. This is, as we'll see going on throughout this event, this is the night of the NWO. So,
yeah,
they go over here, but
spoiler alert: the NWO is undefeated tonight.
Yeah, and that crooked referee. I'll have some things to say about Nick Patrick here in a little bit, but I'll wait for that moment.
All right. So after this, we get a pretty comical Lex Luger promo. I can't remember exactly what he's talking about, but he mentions how, they're in the thicket of things or something like that. I don't think I've ever heard a promo with the word thicket.
I don't know.
Thank you so much, Lex. All right. So the match is Lex Luger versus Arn Anderson. By the way, I don't know if you caught this. Both guys' theme songs to me are very memorable, especially Arn's. Arn's theme song kicks ass. It's kind of like a variation of the Horseman theme song.
I love the Horseman. That's one of my favorite wrestling themes ever. Yeah.
Arn Anderson's theme is fantastic. It's reused later for the actual Horseman when Steve McMichael and Chris Benoit come out.
Yeah.
Fantastic theme song. Anyways, both men sell really loudly. I don't know if that was, for me, that was distracting, especially Lex. Every time one of them hits an offensive attack, it's,
yeah.
Yeah. Both men were just selling super, super loud. And Arn is very mechanically sound. This is not new if you've watched an Arn Anderson match. He's very, very mechanically sound. And he makes Lex look good. Arn's spinebuster's smooth as always. Dusty says something about Boola Boola, which throws off the commentary team. when you can't think of something, you just say Boola Boola. I don't know. I guess I have to rewatch that. I don't remember how that came in, but I heard Boola Boola a bunch of times. So, anyways, I thought this was a surprisingly decent match because Lex is not known for being a good worker, and Arn is a very good worker. So Arn really helped. There was a good mix of psychology and just straight up fighting, where it looked like both men really wanted to beat the hell out of each other, and it was believable. And then in the end, Arn even did a stretcher job to sell the damage that Luger did, because Luger held the torture rack for a very long time and even used chairs and everything too. And then Jarrett and Flair came to check on their fallen comrade. Any thoughts on this match?
Was Luger in the NWO during this?
No.
Okay.
He eventually joined the Wolf Pack, but that's like 2 years later.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know. I didn't understand why Luger was more of the heel in this, because again, I come into this from a new set of eyes. I don't remember what was going on at the time. But yeah, I mean, I love Lex Luger. I've always loved Lex Luger, even though he's not like the best in the ring, and he's obviously confused in promos a lot of the times. But I just love Lex Luger. He's great. And Arn Anderson goes without saying, old school tough man mentality and in-ring work. And it was great. And I think that during that promo, you said you don't know what Lex Luger was talking about. He was just basically talking shit about Arn and saying he was going to beat him. That's the only thing I remember about it. He was just talking about how he was going to beat up Arn Anderson. But yeah, another solid match.
Okay. Well, moving on, we have more of the Four Horsemen because we have the team of Steve Mongo McMichael and Chris Benoit representing the Four Horsemen against the Faces of Fear, which consist of Meng and the Barbarian, who are representing the Dungeon of Doom. All right. I loved the Faces of Fear's jacket with the skulls on them. Badass. And then we get to hear Arn's Four Horsemen theme again, which is, again, badass. So Mongo and Meng start off the match, and it's a hoss fight. Mongo hits the 3-point stance, like, the old football tackle thing moving. It looks good. Mongo is actually... he was a very rest in peace. Mongo died, I believe, earlier this year. Rest in peace. I'm a Chicago guy. I'm a Chicago native. Mongo is kind of a legend here because he was part of the '85 Bears.
Okay.
But in the ring, he wasn't the most. He wasn't Ricky Steamboat. Anyways, Chris Benoit was fantastic. Chris Benoit is fucking just explosive. The Rabid Wolverine is a great nickname. Anyways, Mongo and Meng come back in, and they have like a sumo match, which Meng dominates because Meng really knows how to sumo fight. It's a great contrast with Mongo and Benoit. You got Mongo, who's kind of like the unpolished, wrestler who's just kind of using his size to his advantage. And then you got Chris Benoit, who's not a huge dude, but the man is crisp and explosive as hell. At one point, there was a back body drop into a power bomb by the Faces of Fear to Benoit. And there's also a top rope belly to belly overhead suplex, which was really good. Overall, I wanted to give this a solid rating if it wasn't so one-sided until the abrupt ending where Mongo hits one of the members of the Faces of Fear with the Halliburton, and then Benoit hits the headbutt for the win. Do you have any thoughts about this match, Mr. Mosley?
Like I said, I have watched this pay-per-view in its entirety, and this is probably the only WCW pay-per-view, because I was a WWF guy back in the day, and this was even a little bit before my time, before I really started regularly watching wrestling. But even when I did, I was a WWF guy. Even though I kind of knew, roughly what was going on the other side of things. So, having said that, this is the first time for this particular purpose of doing this retro review that I've ever watched a WCW pay-per-view front to back And I even watched it through halfway a second time because I was like, damn, that was pretty good. I'm going to go back and watch that again. And somehow I missed this match. And I don't know how, but I remember at the end, Ming laying out in the ring. I remember them talking about the Halliburton, but I was like, what are they talking about? And then it was like over. So, unfortunately, Vic, I don't have a lot to add to this one. I can say that as far as Mongo goes, he is one of the most impressive looking guys. I remember after the Giant match that he had, Jeff Jarrett and Giant, when all of the WCW guys came out to the ring and like Mongo was there. I'm pretty sure that was the spot. Like they were standing in the ring. I was like, out of all of these guys, they all look like they're on the WCW side of things, like the WCW versus NWO type deal, except for Mongo. Like Mongo looks like he could be an NWO guy easily. So, props to him. I didn't know he was part of the '85 Bears. I'm not, from Chicago, so I'm not really up on all that. But like, that's a pretty cool little footnote. But as far as the match goes, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, and I will do that for sure because, Chris Benoit, goes without saying, he doesn't have a bad match. I don't think he ever has had a bad match, and
it's rare if he does.
I can't think of one. I really can't. But yeah, it seems like this was one of the matches to see on this show, and unfortunately I just didn't see it. Even watching this thing 1.5 times, somehow I missed this match.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a match you have to see, but it's fun.
Yeah,
it's decent. Now, probably the funnest match I had with this show was the next match, because we have the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash versus Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray for the WCW Tag Team Championship. Harlem Heat is defending here, and the Outsiders are super, super over here. The commentary team even tries to downplay it, which is hilarious. Because there's plenty of WCW fans out here tonight too. Don't be. I don't know if you caught all that, but there's a Diesel chant, there's a Razor chant. You got classic Scott Hall doing his taunt. he throws the toothpick at Booker T. And Harlem Heat are also two big dudes themselves. They're not ham and eggers, as Bobby Heenan says. There's a great spot at the beginning where Hall spits at Stevie Ray, and before Stevie Ray does anything, Hall tags in Nash, which is good stuff. Hall hits some of his 6 moves, including the hair flick. If you caught that Jim Cornette reference, but there's a great scissor kick by Booker T to Scott Hall. Nash comes in, hits that side slam, which is another one of his 6 moves. Sherry even gets involved and slaps Hall, and then Hall kisses her for a big pop. And Colonel Parker gets involved at the end of the match. He gives Nash his cane, which I thought was a very awkward spot, but Dusty actually kind of saves it. Dusty says he gave it to him as a way. He gave it to him out of desperation. But then Nash hits Stevie with some very weak looking cane shots, and Hall turns over, pins him for the 1, 2, 3. So I thought all 4 men shined here. Everyone got their big moves in. I just didn't like the ending because I thought those cane shots were super weak, and I thought the cane exchange was awkward. But the hot crowd really saves this match. Mosley, tell me, did you have fun with this match, or am I just being nostalgic?
No, I had fun with it. I didn't understand why you said that the Outsiders were super over during this match, and obviously, from a nostalgic perspective, I didn't get that. I do understand that the NWO were notorious for beating everybody up and really never taking a loss, but I just didn't understand why Harlem Heat had to lose the championships here. Like, why couldn't they have ended it in some kind of DQ? I feel like Nash and Hall didn't really need the championships, and I don't understand why Harlem Heat had to lose them. But yeah, I like the spot where Hall spit on Stevie Ray, and then like a few moments later, after he starts to get the upper hand, he spits back at him, and he spits all over him. I mean, it like sprays. So I like that. I thought it was a good match. I also noted the Razor Ramon taunts that Scott Hall was doing, and he even had Chico on his tights. On the front of his tights, it said Chico. So
I must have missed that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, well, one thing I want to add is I think, this was the beginning of the NWO's hostile takeover. So them having the tag team belts and Hogan having the world championship kind of added to their whole we're taking over.
Brother. How long did they have those tag team belts though? Because I don't remember Hall and Nash being tag team champions. I mean, they were the outsiders, but
I don't remember. But I bet you they didn't drop it normally. They probably just forfeited it somehow.
Probably, yeah.
Anyways, and now we're up to our main event. We have Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the, I guess it's the NWO World Heavyweight Championship because it's got the spray paint on it.
Spray out, yeah.
All right, so this match, this is hardly a match at times, man. This is just a lot of showboating, a lot of stalling, a lot of hot dogging and grandstanding. You know? Hogan comes out wearing a wig or a toupee, whatever you want to call it.
It was a pretty convincing looking wig, though. It looked like he had somehow grown hair and like cut it and spiked it.
Yeah, I remember showing this to my wife. I'm like, does that look like his real hair? And it looks kind of convincing when you look closely, like at the base of it. Then you can kind of see where the makeup comes in.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, that was pretty good. And then this is where I was gonna lead into next because Macho Man rips it off. And then Bobby Heenan says he's a convertible. The top is down. And then Macho Man proceeds to put the wig onto himself. And, Bobby Heenan says he must have used half a gallon of Rogaine for that.
Yeah.
Like I said, lots of stalling in the beginning. Typical of Hogan matches at the time where, he'd hit a few offensive moves and just showboat for the next 5 minutes. Hogan plays the cowardly heel pretty well, though, I got to say. He's very, very animated, very loud. And, 10 plus minutes, and Hogan still has the sunglasses on before he got scalped. As Dusty said, he got scalped. Like I said, just lots of, I think the industry term is gaga. A lot of just messing around because at the end of the match, Macho Man takes the offense. Nick Patrick comes out with the neck brace, and then he does that spot, which my friends and I were doing back in the day, where Macho Man hits the elbow drop. Nick Patrick is in the ring. 1, 2. Oh, I can't make the 3 count. Macho Man proceeds to rip off the neck brace and start beating him up. The Giant comes in, choke slams Macho Man, puts Hogan on top. 1, 2, 3, it's over. He counts like normal.
Yep.
Now, there's a very lengthy post-match, which I won't get into yet because I want to hear your thoughts on this main event.
Well, I said what I said about the hair piece. And, I agree with everything you said. It was a typical Hogan match, showboating, very slow pace. I mentioned earlier how I was going to get back to the crooked referee in this. This is one thing that I did not like about the entire pay-per-view, is Nick Patrick was involved in way too many matches. He was refereeing for several of the matches this night in a neck brace and selling the neck brace. And it was like, okay, you kind of get the indication from the onset that he's a crooked referee. And this one really seals the deal. I mean, there's the end of the X-Pac match or the 6 match where he's like walking with him backstage and all this stuff. And I just kept saying, like, there's like 3 or 4 referees at this event. Why do we have the one in the neck brace in most of these matches calling them? I would have understood if it would have been like the match before the main event and then you sell the neck, not being able to make the count. But it seemed like that went on a little bit too long. Especially when you had, what's the guy's name? What's the other referee's name? He was the first referee in the very first match, the Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko match. Very famous referee from Smoky Mountain Wrestling and
Mark Curtis.
Mark Curtis. I think his name was something else, but in WCW he was Mark Curtis.
Yeah, Brian Hildebrand.
Brian Hildebrand was his actual name. That was his real name. Fantastic referee. That was
so animated.
I did not mention that in the original, when we talked about the first match, but man, what a good referee. I mean, on point, counting everything, counting when they're out of the ring, when they're in a hold too long. I mean, Hildebrand was one of the best referees that I've ever saw. Why couldn't we have Hildebrand in this match? Well, apparently, I think they wrote it off as Nick Patrick as the senior referee. So, like, when everybody else came out to help, he told them all to go to the back. I'll take care of the match or whatever. And so, and he was the crooked one out of the bunch. But, I think this was it was a really good main event for the show. Obviously, Hogan versus Macho Man is going to sell it. And, you probably wouldn't think that Hogan would drop the title at this event in particular, especially considering that the NWO has ruled the night the entire night. There was something was going to happen. So you kind of saw the writing on the wall throughout the show, but I thought they oversold the referee spot a little bit too hard throughout the event just to get to this point. I think they could have toned it down a little bit. But yeah, great solid main event to a solid show. I think we need an action figure of Hogan with that removable hairpiece.
All right. So after the match is over, we have kind of a post-credit scene, a very, very lengthy post-credit scene, so to speak, because Hogan gets on the mic and brags about his victory, brags about how he's the king of wrestling or whatever he says. And then we hear we hear bagpipes playing. That can only mean one thing. Roddy Piper has debuted in WCW. Roddy Piper is here. He comes to the ring, and they have a promo, a very lengthy promo, which, spoiler alert, what's it called? Doesn't end because the pay-per-view feed gets cut off.
Cutting you off.
Yeah, but basically, Roddy is saying, I'm as big of an icon in this sport as you are, and Hogan finally relents and agrees with him. But then Hogan takes a shot at Roddy wearing a kilt, and then they have some more jaw-jacking. Roddy says he's the reason why Hulk is bald, and he calls the giant Sprout.
Several times.
Yeah. He talks about, do you remember WrestleMania? If I hadn't beaten Mr. T, gotten, chased the New York City, the NYPD, and, had my way with Liberace, whatever that meant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the show ended on a very lengthy promo. And, that was Halloween Havoc 1996. Do you have anything to add about the promo?
Man, I don't. I mentioned this earlier, and this is where it applies. Where if I had been as big a fan back then, I think that Roddy Piper coming out in WCW would have been a huge thing for me. Because 1996, earlier that year, he was in the Backlot Brawl at WrestleMania with Goldust, which is one of his most famous matches that he ever had. And then all of a sudden he's showing up on WCW. And when I saw him come out, it wasn't like, oh, I'm happy to be here. It was like, he's just here. And he starts to talk to, he's like, I'm as big an icon as you, which we know is ridiculous. I mean, everybody likes and knows Rowdy Roddy Piper, but to say I'm as big as Hulk Hogan, no. I mean, come on. Like, that was I just thought the whole thing was kind of weird, and he kept going and going and going, and every time Hogan would start to say something and try to wrap it up, Roddy would be like, no, shut up, I'm not done. And then he'd keep going about, just on and on and on, and then eventually it just cuts him off. Like Roddy's still talking and berating Hogan, and it just cuts him off. So, what could have been a big debut, I think, for Roddy Piper, and obviously he's going to come out because him and Hogan have history. They could have shaved off 15 minutes of this thing and just had him come out at the end of the match and say a couple of things to him while standing on the stage and then end the show. I don't know why he felt the need to go as long as he did. If they told him, hey, just go out there and say whatever you want, and he was just trying to build the feud up or whatever, and then they leave the title in the ring, and he's like, oh, you forgot something, and then they get back in the ring, he's like, now we got a problem, and all this. It was really odd. It was a really odd promo and a really odd debut for somebody like Roddy Piper, who I think that they didn't have to do all that. They should have really toned it down on this debut, and it was sort of just a weird, I won't say bad ending to the show, but it was, I don't know, it went way, way, way too long. Way too long, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah,
right.
Everything considered, I mean, I think Halloween Havoc was a good show. I mean, it was a really good show. It was refreshing to go back and watch some wrestling from the 90s. I loved whenever Macho Man came out. And by the way, whenever the main event was coming at, Brad Buffer was introducing everybody, as he usually did in the main events of WCW. When Hogan and company got in the ring, Brad Buffer hadn't even announced them yet, and they started playing Macho Man's music. And then they cut off Macho Man's music so that he could finish announcing, and then they went back and played it again. And then Macho Man comes out, and he gets the monster truck comes out with the big Macho Man glasses and hat on it. And I looked that up, and apparently the hat is somewhere on eBay for sale right now, the hat off that monster truck. And I tried to look up what happened to the winner of the monster truck that Macho Man announced after, I think, the second match of the show. Apparently, that monster truck wasn't what they were winning. It was like a regular-ass Dodge Ram with a big Slim Jim logo on the side of it.
Oh, man.
That was, like, hiked up a little bit to kind of be like a taller than normal truck. And whatever the woman was that won it, I could not find what happened to that. So it may have been a who won the pony type of situation where they just made it up. I don't know, but I did try to do my research there, and apparently there's no answer. But the hat to that monster truck is on sale for whoever wants to buy that guy. Good show. Good show.
It reminds me of the very first In Your House. They gave away a house, and I believe the winners who won that house just immediately sold it.
Yeah, they sold it. Yeah, I found that too. While trying to look up this information, I found out that they had sold the In Your House.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, I have to correct you. It's Michael Buffer, not Brad Buffer.
Oh, Brad Buffer's his brother that does the UFC stuff.
I believe that's Bruce Buffer.
Bruce Buffer. Who's Brad?
Damn!
All right.
I'll follow that up with
I don't know!
Brad Buffer.
Well, that about wraps it up here, I think.
I think that wraps it up. That's our retro review of Halloween Havoc. Hopefully everybody out there enjoyed it. And hopefully we will get to more retro reviews soon. I think we got a PLE coming up. Survivor Series is right around the corner. And wouldn't you know it, there are some pretty big, notable Survivor Series events from back in the day. And maybe we'll get around to doing a retro review of one of them. But hopefully you enjoyed the Halloween Havoc 1996 review. I definitely enjoyed watching it. Like I've said multiple times, it was a breath of fresh air. I'm glad that we did this. And, great pay-per-view. It's always good to go back and watch some of the old stuff. It makes you feel old, but it also makes you feel young at the same time, Slick Vic.
To me, it was a wonderful trip down memory lane.
Absolutely. Well, it was a new experience for me, but, and at the same time, it was sort of like a memory lane type new experience. I don't know. It's really weird for me, but I definitely enjoyed it. And putting it in the old memory banks, and I'll be watching a lot more WCW pay-per-views from here on out for sure. Is there anything else that you want to add, Slick Vic, before we end the show? I know that one thing that I have to do before we go is we have to do the gong. I keep forgetting the gong. We've got it this time. And maybe we even want to throw in a...
He got a bicycle! He got a bicycle from somebody!
I'm paying respects to Dusty Rhodes, who was on commentary during this Halloween Havoc 1996 event.
You'll hear plenty of Dusty if you watch Halloween Havoc 1996, because he was all over it and he was great. Him and Bobby Heenan were great. And Tony Schiavone was there too.
Yeah, Tony. I mean, I like Tony Schiavone. I thought that he did his best work in WCW. These days, you can find him on AEW. He's just kind of there, but yeah.
Okay.
The voice of WCW in my mind.
Yeah, okay, I give you that. Anywho, I hope you all enjoy the show. If you want to hear more retro reviews, definitely let Mosley or I know. We would love to indulge y'all. And until then, I want to say I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Absolutely. Make sure that you follow us there on Facebook. That's where you can comment on all of our posts and see the day-to-day happenings over here at Wrestling with Power, facebook.com/Wrestling with Power. And this episode has been broadcast live tonight on Twitch. That's twitch.com/Wrestling with Power. Every Thursday, you're going to catch us on Twitch going forward. And as far as the episodes in full, edited down to your viewing and listening pleasure, over on Spotify, just search up Wrestling with Power. You're going to find us on there. YouTube.com/@Wrestling with Power podcast, where you're going to get the full video experience. We're here. We're live. We're doing it live, pal. Every Thursday night. And with that, stay powerful, everybody.